All right, so today we are doing section 2.6, which is called function notation. Just a real quick reminder, Alex was due last Sunday that just passed. So if you look on the board, October 10th is when the next one that just started today. So today the new Alex assignments popped up. It's due on October 10. Okay, so you have 2 weeks. All right. So make sure you guys are working on that stuff. Always good to do that during a quiz, right? Remember, your quiz is on Wednesday. Tomorrow we do a review. Today's the last day that you get a homework assignment before the quiz, okay? All homework is due tomorrow at 10 p.m. So if you haven't done Fridays or Thursdays or obviously today's yet, make sure you guys get that done, all right? Um, okay, function notation. So what is function notation? Why do we use it? So let me kind of go over that with you guys. Okay. So normally, what we would do, I'm going to kind of write this right here. Normally, we would write many equations, right? Y equals x squared minus 2x, or y equals to x plus 3, y equals to 4x minus 1. And the one thing that kind of troubles people sometimes, and maybe you're like, well, I don't feel troubled with that, but sometimes some math teachers and stuff, we look at this and say, so y is equal to all of that. So y is x squared minus 2x, and it's x plus 3, and it's 4x minus 1. Like, which one is it? Which one is it equal to? Is it equal to all three? Or is it just equal to 1, but we're taking them as three separate things? So usually when you take algebra 1, algebra 2, it's not a big deal because you don't get too many equations at once. But when the math gets a little tougher and they start giving you guys more and more equations to do, then sometimes it's important that we decipher the difference between one equation and the next equation and the next equation. So what we do with notation is we give them names. Okay? So with notation, I might say f of x is x squared minus 2x. I might say g of x is x plus 3. And I can say h of x is 4x minus 1. So I give them a name. Okay, I give them an actual name so that I can refer to them by their name, f, g, or h. Right? I'm going to use f of x. I'm going to use h of x. I'm going to use g of x. Okay? And it's just basically giving them a name. Now, what does the x on the inside mean? It's not that I'm multiplying by x. So f of x does not mean f times x. F of x means that it's a function named f, and inside of it, there's x's. So let me give you an example. I can give you a different way of writing this. M of t. That could be t squared minus 4. Notice how the equation has t's in it, t squared minus 4, right? So the letter inside the parenthesis tells you what makes the equation up, like what's in it. So if I were to use, let's say, a of n, it could look like this. Right? So the name of the equation is a, and the variable that it's dealing with is n variables, right? So n squared plus 3n minus 2, right? So inside of the parenthesis tells you what goes inside of the equation. The letter on the outside just tells you the name. So right here we have 5 different equations, f, g, h, m, and a. And I could easily tell you what is equation m, and you'll know exactly where to go, m of t, right? What is equation h? Well, that's h of x, right? So it's just a way to write a name for it. Now, we also use it to do calculations. So let me show you a couple of these things to the side of this. So every once in a while, you're going to see like, okay, we're going to give you f of x. Can you find f of 3 or something like that? So let me show you something. They might say, find g of 2. G of 2 basically means plug in a 2 into your equation g of x. Okay? So, all right, so g of 2, you're going to plug in a 2 into the equation. Notice the equation is right here, guys. Okay? G of x equals x plus 3. So wherever I see an x, I'm going to replace it with the 2. So I'm just going to use a different color real quick. 2 plus 3. Well, that's 5. So there's my answer. G of 2 is 5. I mean, that's pretty easy, right? Now, what if they ask you to find f of negative 1? Well, f of negative 1, I'm going to use this equation right here. Okay? So I would just plug in a negative 1 everywhere I see x value. So it would look like this. Negative 1 squared minus 2 times negative 1. Okay? So negative 1 squared, that's 1. Negative 2 times negative 1, that's a positive 2. So my answer is 3. So this stuff is not that difficult, okay? It looks a little weird, but they're basically just going to tell you, here's the number, plug it in, okay? Plug it in. Now, here's the part that sometimes freaks some people out. The numbers don't scare them when you plug stuff in, like numbers. But what sometimes scares people is when you see other expressions. So, for example, what if they told me find h of m minus 1? So notice it's not a number only anymore. It's an expression. I'm not going to do it any different. But you kind of have to get your brain wrapped around the fact that it's not harder, okay? This is not, oh my gosh, this is so difficult to do now. All you're doing is replacing. So if you look at h, okay, so here's h. You're going to replace this x right here, okay, for h. You're going to replace that x with m minus 1. That's all you're going to do. So it's going to look like this. 4 times m minus 1 minus 1. So instead of 4x minus 1, it's 4 times m minus 1, and then a minus 1. Now, if you're wondering why do we have two minus 1s, this little piece right here is that, okay? So the 4x becomes 4 times m minus 1, and then we have a minus 1 that's just kind of left over. All right? So if you just simplify it, you'll be done. So 4 times m, that's 4m. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4 minus 1. Let's see. Isaac. Let me see here. Thank you. All right, so Isaac and Kristen. All right, so 4m minus 4 minus 1, that's going to be 4m minus 5. Okay, so that's going to be our answer. All right, so if they make you plug in expressions and stuff like that, it's not that big a deal. It's just it just looks a little bit weird, but you'll notice you're not going to get a numerical answer at the very end. You're going to get another expression, right? It's not like a 5 or a 3. It's a 4m minus 5. It's an actual expression for something like that. So you'll get some stuff like that. So let's go to the work that you guys are going to be doing today. We're going to do 3 of these, and then we're going to jump over to a different thing, which is still not too bad. But the other class chose question number 3. I actually don't mind which one you guys want to do. What do you guys prefer?
1.
1? All right. So let's go with question number 1. So k of 0 means you're going to plug in a 0 everywhere you see the variable, okay? So it's going to be negative 2 times 0 to the third minus 1. Now, negative 2 times 0 to the third is just 0. And negative 2 times 0, well, that's just 0. And 0 minus 1 is negative 1. So your answer is B. okay? So your answer would be B. Just plug it in and work it out, okay? That's all you got to do. All right, what about from 3 through 6? Give me one of those. Which one do you want to see?
4.
4. Let's look at 4. So, g of negative 6 is equal to negative 6 squared. You'll notice I'm using different colors. That way you know what's being plugged in, right? So negative 6 squared minus 4. Now, negative 6 squared, that's 36 minus 4, which is 32. Okay? So, can you see how this isn't like really difficult to do, right? It's not that hard. You just got to make sure you keep your work in order, calculate properly. You should be good. Okay? Now, there are some problems. I'm not going to do 7 because I want you guys to try it. Let me just remind you, this is called an absolute value, okay? So whatever number you get in there, you have to take its positive affiliate. So if you get like a negative 4, then make sure you write 4 instead. That's an absolute value. But I mean, you guys get the gist of this stuff, right? Just plug in a number and you're good. Okay. Same with number 7. You're just gonna plug in the number and you're good. Now, these right here, I don't do any of them with you guys because of the fact that I don't have a calculator in front of me. It's going to take me too long to just start typing it in. But it's the same thing as the other ones. The only difference is that the numbers you're plugging in are not whole numbers or integers. They're actual decimal values, right? Like 8.3, 6.7. So those are a little bit tougher to do. So you're going to want to use your calculator for these, okay? Whether it's on your computer, one that you actually own, etc. You're going to want to use your calculator. No more difficult than the other ones. You're just punching this in. You're probably going to be using your calculator anyway for some of the other ones. So don't feel like, oh, now I got to do. No, it's the same thing. Just the number that you're plugging in is a little different. Okay? It has a decimal value in it. So don't worry about those. Now, I did want to go to these. Let's do number 10. Okay? Let's do number 10. So they give me f of n equals to negative 2n minus 1, and they say find f of 1 plus a. Find f of 1 plus a. So instead of plugging in a number, they want me to replace the letter n in the equation with 1 plus a. So this is what it's going to look like. F of 1 plus a is equal to negative 2 times 1 plus a minus 1. Now just distribute and clean up and you're done. So here we go. Negative 2 times 1, that's negative 2. Negative 2 times a is negative 2a. And then subtract 1. So there you go. We're all done with that. Now, fix whatever can be fixed. So we got negative 2 minus 1. That becomes a negative 3 minus 2a. So that's going to be right there. Again, still easy to do, just a little bit more lengthy work, right? And like I told you, most of the time it ends up being an expression, not an actual just number like a 7 or something. It's going to be some kind of mathematical expression. So right now we'll do number 13. So you can see number 13. I'm going to give you a little bit of time. Figure out what h of 3t is going to be. Okay, I'll give you a minute. All right, so anybody have an answer for me? Anybody know what the solution is? A, B, C, or D? A, yeah, it's going to be A. Okay, so notice all you have to do is plug in a 3t where the t is, right? So it's going to look like this, 3t, and then plus 1. But 3t cannot be added to 1. They're not like terms, so your answer is just 3t plus 1. And that's it. Your answer is going to be A. Okay? Now, aside from doing this type of stuff, there are some things with graphs that you have to do. Thankfully, you don't have to worry about graphing anything, but there's some questions that they can ask you, okay? They're going to say, look at the coordinate plane that you see here. What is f of 4? So what they're saying is, if you let your x value be 4, what is your y value? Well, this is the way I would do it. Okay, if I were you, I'd do it like this. Now, this might be too much work for some, but for me, this is the way I preferred seeing it. I would label all my points, -6, -5, -2, 3, 0, 0, 2, -5, and this would be 4, 5, and 6, 5. Okay? And what that question is saying up top is it says, what is f of 4? In other words, if x equals 4, then what's y equal to? That's what they're asking me. Well, can you see the answer in the points? It's right here. 4, 5. If x is 4, so there it is, 4, 5. If x is 4, y is 5. So my answer is going to be B. It's 5. Because that's the point, right? That point right here is 4, 5, where x is 4, so y must be 5. And the other questions are going to be a lot like that. They're just going to ask you to identify what is, so look at this one. What is f of 0? It's the same graph, by the way, okay? Same graph. So what is f of 0? So if I zoom in, what is f of 0? It's 0, right? Because if x equals 0, then y equals, well, you can see right here, 0. If I ask you what's f of 2, you would say -5, right? That's the y value, -5. Easy? Here's the only time it's kind of difficult, but not really, but kind of. If they really want to try to mess with you here, look at the very last one. This one looks a little different. It says, if f of x equals 3, then what is x? So this time we're looking for x. So what do you think they gave me? So before they gave me x, I had to find y, right? This time they say, we don't know what x is. So what number do you think they gave me? The y value this time, right? This time they gave me the y value. So they're saying, if y is 3, then what's x? Okay, this is the y value right here. So again, you might want to look at your points and ask yourself, which point has a y value of 3? Let me label them A, B, C, D, E, F. Which one of those has a y value of 3? Say it louder. B. Yeah, B does. What is that point? Let's see. This point right here. The y is 3. What's my x? -2. This is my answer. So we're just basically did the same problem, but just backwards. That's all. We just did it backwards. Okay? So that's it. That's the lesson for today, guys. It's pretty straightforward, but make sure you work on it in class. That way, in case you have any questions, you can ask me. The graphs are usually pretty easy to do, but if it makes you feel a little lost, that's okay. Just let me know so I can help you out. And the other problems in the very beginning, like I said, just plugging numbers in and pretty much all it is to it. So, yeah, go ahead and start your work. Let me know if you need help.